Blessed everyone,
Yes.
greetings.
Blessed,
Blessed Lord,
blessed,
greetings, everyone.
blessed.
Bless up, my brothers.
Greeting.
All right.
Greetings, everyone.
Blessed.
Yes,
One and
sir.
all, yeah. Love, love.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're here today to talk about the album, the AKAE BEKA Scrolls, and we have guests from all over the world dialed in. Manel, where are you dialed in from today?
Blessed. Yeah, man. I'm dialing from UK, England.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah, man.
Biblical, where are the eyes tuned in from?
California. Grass Valley.
Trinity Farm Studio.
Lovely, lovely. Scott,
Yes, I.
where's the eye tuned in from?
Tuning in from Penn Valley, just right down the road from Grass Valley. And originally repping Virginia, East Coast.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
Kenyatta, where are you coming in from today?
I'm in my hometown of Washington, D.C.
Lovely. I'm in Atlanta, so we have a lot of ground covered right now. Previously, we did an interview with Manel and Biblical for the Living Testament album, but this is our first time with Pulse and Ishence and Scott and Kenyatta. So I just wanted to take a moment for, I'd like to hear a little bit about each of you, who you are, what your musical background is, maybe where you grew up, just a little bit about each of you. Pulse, let's start with you.
Yes, I. Yeah, I's Ras Pulse, Ababa Janai. That's my name. And I originally from St. Croix, West Virgin Island. That's where I was born and raised and grew. And at the age of 16, I came out here to California to live with my father. And that's where I start off with my reggae music journey until this time. Just doing the work.
Good, thanks. Ishence, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes, Higher Bound Productions here. Been playing music my whole life. Come from a musical family. My grandfather and my mother, both musicians, and been recording and producing since later in high school all the way through up until now. And yeah.
Thank you. Give thanks. Scott, tell us a little bit about the eye.
Yeah, man. Well, I hail from a little place near the coast in Virginia on the East Coast called Newport News. And it's closest to Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach is the nearest big city that people are familiar with typically. Lived there until 12 years ago, a little over 12 years ago. I moved my family out here to the Grass Valley area. And yeah, I've been playing the drums and percussion, and studying drums and percussion, and also teaching as a private music instructor for like around a little over 35 years at this point. So yeah, I work a lot in the reggae music space, but I also play jazz music and other kinds of music as well. And yeah, it's just an honor to have been able to be part of just even knowing Vaughn, but to be able to be, present for these sessions was a huge honor, which, we'll get into that more. So yeah,
Yes,
give thanks for including me here. Yeah.
Beautiful. Kenyatta, please tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenyatta Itola. I'm a bass player. I co-founded a record label. It's called I Grade Records back in 1999. My first album that I played on for Midnight would be Nemo Zion Rasta, which is now it's 25 years ago.
I'm a self-taught bass player that once we started this record label, we started producing albums for many different Virgin Islands artists. So on that I-Grade label, we produce albums for Army, Ancient King, Abja, Niora. We played for all of those Virgin Islands artists. But every time I ever played something, it was always in the back of my mind, it was always there. Will Vaughn rock this tune? Will Vaughn ride it? So I'm just glad to be here to bear witness to some of my experiences and you know, just share some of that with you.
Beautiful. This question will be for Manel and Biblical. And I will put the link for our previous interview in the notes here. But how from Manel and Biblical, how did this album, AKAE BEKA SCROLLS, come to be?
That was this album was really the reason what Vaughn came to the yard, you know, to do works. The main reason that he came was to build rhythms, you know, and it's not until he was there and we played some readings with him that Living Testament came to reality. But the main reason for Vaughn to come there was to hold a vibe and build rhythms, you know. Yeah,
I remember that was part of the story. He got there expecting to build rhythms, and you were playing him all these rhythms. And
yes,
then he said I could voice these. And then I guess he got around to building the rhythms after that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said I came here to build rhythms. I didn't realize he already had rhythms. You know?
Right.
So then I think the following morning or something, he said, let's go to work. You know,
Got it.
He went and started doing vocals.
Got it. So, if I understand correctly, Pulse, you knew Vaughn for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we go way, way back, man. We went elementary school together and junior high school together. That was my brethren, you know, even before me and him ever get big into the music thing. As youths, we were childhood friends, you know. We fly kite together, we play marble together. You know what I mean? We know each other. We live in the same town, Frederickstead. You know? So, yeah, man, we grew together for a long time. After junior high school, all of us move on. He went to DC, I come to California. You know, every man trod on to Babylon and go to a different state, you know what I mean? Until such time again we meet. You know?
Right.
But yes, yeah, we know each other for a very long time.
Elementary school, we're talking like
Claudio Marco, St. Croix.
like under 10 years old, kind of like.
Yeah, more likely, you know, 10, you know, around them time that we first, I could say.
Yeah. Was there anything about him as a child that would show that, you know, he's kind of unusual or different?
Yeah, I would say that. I will say that because in elementary they have like when you're talking about classes, you know, they have 6-1, 6-2, 6-3. But this class. Man was always in accelerated class. From 5th, 6th grade coming up, he was always in a high standard in elementary. So yeah, man, from early age, he was done very bright, very smart, you know what I mean? Full with knowledge, you know? So yeah, man, them things start from way back when.
That makes sense. I mean? That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more there, Pulse, but I'll put that on pause. I hope we can get more of that story as we progress. Um, Ishence, how did you meet Vaughn?
Well, when they first started coming out here in California around 2002, 2003, around 2003, I met him at a show. We come early and I saw him there cooling out in the front of the house and I said, wow, there's one. I run over there and hail him up and it was just let him do his thing. And then during the show, come daps me up from stage while he was singing and it's just a vibe. And then after the show, we're leaving and I hear like, hey, come back here, I look and it's like, Vaughn, what? So we go back there and start talking with them, having a conversation and asked me like, so what do you do out here? I do music, I farm, he's like, wow, you do music? Yeah. And so right then the seed was planted, like we're gonna do some work. And it just took like about 3 years to finally manifest until we had the opportunity to finally track Let's Go Around in 2006. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Kenyatta, you just referenced, Nemosian Rasta 25 years ago. How did you come into the Vaughn universe and everything?
I met Vaughn in the 90s in Washington, D.C., in the
Ah,
mid-90s. I no longer lived in Washington, D.C. I lived in New York at the time, but I would come back and visit, and Midnight was running. They were going real strong in this club called the Kaffa House, which is on U Street. It's kind of like a place they kind of made it their own. They would play there at least twice a month. And so I started seeing them in there. I didn't meet him personally until, it'd be the mid-90s. I actually met him in New York. We had that's kind of like the nexus of how high grade comes into being too, because Vaughn, Tippy, and I were actually in New York at the same time. But this would be the mid-90s.
got
See.
it. Got it. A lot of history. A lot of history. Scott, how did you come into the Vaughn universe?
Well, yeah, the first time I ever met Vaughn was in Virginia Beach, and it's an interesting story that I'll make a short work of the story. I've told a lot of people this story because it's just so kind of funny and unique, and I will quickly sidestep that and just say that before I ever lived in California and before I ever met Yatta or Ishence or Biblical or anyone for that matter, Nemo Zion Rasta and Bless Go Around were easily in my top 5 midnight albums up until that time that had been released. And so when I came out to Grass Valley and then got to meet and work with Kenyatta and Ishence, it was really special and kind of serendipitous because to me those two albums are very epic. So that's a side note. But the first time I actually met Vaughn was in Virginia Beach, and we were listening to midnight bootleg tapes a lot. Where I grew up was like around about 3 hours south of DC, so we weren't too far removed from the DC scene. And I was in college.
Most High, Almighty.
Yeah, Rastafari. I was in college when I started getting these bootleg tapes, and then immediately someone put me on to, I think the first album was that I got was Ross Piece, and then I got Unpolished, so I kind of got them out of order maybe. But either way, we heard that they were touring and they were going to be right by us in Virginia Beach. And the funny thing is that nobody knew at that time what Vaughn looked like or what anyone in the band looked like. We'd never seen them. There was not a lot of like, you couldn't really look it up on the internet at that time and just find pictures, right? So we all went to our local Virginia Beach reggae show spot where we saw all the shows, and we were so hyped up to see this band. We had been on fire for this band. We had no idea where Vaughn was. The band was on stage cooking and warming up the vibe, and nobody even knew who to look for or what, you know? And at this particular club, I knew everybody because it's where all the big reggae shows were. And I remember I looked right to my left. It was standing room only, so we're shoulder to shoulder. And I remember looking and thinking, I don't know this Rasta man. I know everybody in Virginia Beach that would be at this show. And there was this Rasta man right beside me. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he had a vibe, man, potent. And then the band kept cooking a little bit. And then all of a sudden, he took 2 giant steps through the front row and up onto the stage. He bypassed the staircase and grabbed the mic off the stand. And I said, oh my God, that's him. And he was standing by me for like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. So it was just a very like kind of potent way to be introduced to who he was. And then after that show, I was able to meet him and speak with him in reason for a while. So that was the very first meeting, and that was like early to mid 2000s. So yeah, that was a special moment for me and a lot of my brethren back east, because that was our first introduction to being able to put a human being with this voice of this man that was just like flipping us out with every album, you know?
Say,
Yeah.
So you had bootleg back then? They were bootlegging even back then?
Yeah, because yeah, 100%, man. Yeah. I was getting like burned CDs. I was getting bootleg cassette tapes. I promise, yeah. We were listening to it like, what even is this, or who is this? It was still pretty new. It was newish, you know. Yeah, bootlegs, bro. Mm-hmm.
So those were live shows being bootlegged?
There was some of that, and there was also like some people were making like mixtapes of like all the really big tunes from like the first 4 albums. And so before I ever had like a CD with the proper packaging and whatnot, I had all these mixes and some live tapes and things from DC. Yeah, so that was where it started for me. And then I met him that night in Virginia Beach. And then I met him a bunch more times out here in Cali too. But yeah, my time in his orbit was always very short. You know, I was not like close with Vaughn. I don't have like a long backstory with him, but all the times together were very special, obviously. You know, that goes without saying, I think.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a lot about the making of the Living Testament album in the previous interview. I know Manel and Biblical, we talked a lot about what happened during those sessions. And then but we didn't talk a lot about the recording of the AKAE BEKA Scrolls. I remember you said, you know, he wanted to build some rhythms, and I remember also you saying that he was humming a lot, what he wanted the different instruments to play. So can you just talk a little bit about the vibe when the scroll session started, and what was the energy like, and what was the plan? What was happening?
Let me say so. I'll say from the way it started, right? It was he finished doing the vocals for Living Testament in 2 or 3 days. And then he said, all right, call the musicians. Call all the musicians in the area, you know, all his brethren, all that he knew from time before, to come over and come together and make rhythms. So that's how it kicked off.
You know, at the end of that, when you said there's something that Scott put online It's just his video camera of a couple of those tunes from the Ak Becca Scrolls recorded. And at the end, you'll see Vaughn come in and circle around with his finger and say, "Don't waste no time," you know. So Vaughn didn't waste no time. So he knew all of us were in the area, and we all, you know, we've all answered that call so many times, you know, it was just natural. But Vaughn didn't believe in wasting no time. So if we were there and all of us were in the area, it's like, okay, let's move on to the next project.
Yeah, man.
There's a way, Kenyatta, in which that one line is like somehow summarizes that project when he says, don't waste no time. There's some energy where like he's reminding us all
Yeah.
to get on it.
That,
Yeah.
That's why I include
Yeah.
that. That's the intro of the album. That's why the intro of the album is that.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think also, I could be wrong, but I think that was the first rhythm we made in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the first one, right?
That was the first. We were warming in. That's the first. The
We were
first
just
thing.
warming into something. He sang me a drum beat, and I was getting it right because he wanted like half the kick drum notes that I was putting. So I adjusted it to what he was singing, and then before I knew it, it was like, "Don't waste no time."
Yeah.
Hit the chord, and it's like, bro, yeah, that feeling was very electric, you know, because it's like,
and he was in already. He was singing on the rhythm already. He was in already, you know.
Yeah, he had a song. Like,
yeah, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So this is why he said, "No waste no time," because I'm here chanting already. You know, like we are.
And it really was
that was Vaughn's methodology, because when he would step into the studio and be building, usually it would start with the drum and the bass, but mainly the bass. And he would think, bum, 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 bum. Kenyatta be there. Okay. Bum, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, we got that. Drummy. Give me a 1 drop with the 16th note. Okay, we got that. Keys in. A 3 and a 1.
True.
Give me a little ding, 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 ding on the guitar. And once the group could formulate that vibe and that energy, go press record. You know, wasting time.
And as Biblical said too, it really was like a instantaneous kind of a thing, because when Biblical called me, and at that particular time in my life too, my kids were quite a bit younger. I have 4 kids. It was like not always easy for me to roll out of the house just on a whim. And my wife was actually at work at her day job, and Bibli calls me and says, like, "Vaughn's here today. He's ready to work today, all day into the night. Can you come?" And I mean, it was like a 15-minute, like, I called my wife's job and I said, "You have to come home. I have no choice. I have to go." You know, it was like it was like a mission. It was a mission. And I wasn't there first thing that morning because I wasn't staying by Biblical's yard at that time. But whenever the idea formulated and I got that phone call, it was like, this is a mission that I can't miss this. This is a can't miss situation.
Yeah, man.
And we didn't know how important it would end up being, of course, but like it would have felt very important regardless of anything.
Every time we do with Vaughn, it's important.
Yeah. Any moment. And for me, that was not my first time appearing on Vaughn's work, right? That what has been released, but it was my first time being in the studio producing with him. First time and last time. So it was a mission, man. And it was like, failure is not an option. My Empress had to come home. She understood the mission and came home. And luckily, you know, I'm so grateful to Biblical for that phone call. Like I say it all the time too. because I would not have wanted to miss those 2 days that we spent for anything. Yeah, for real.
Pulse, what do you remember about that session?
That was mystical, man. Because, you know, me and Scott as two drummers, you know, we have our own foundation and vibes. So when he put on one, I say, yeah. Oh, you're coming with a fire.
I remember that.
I see that. I
I
feel
remember
that one,
that. Hey,
Scott.
no, that ain't what you said.
Feel
I
that
know
one, my
what you
brother.
said. That ain't what you said.
Yo, it's just
No, what he said
He's
is
like,
on
yo,
the
hey,
album.
what you trying to
Listen
say,
to the
Scott?
album.
I just a natural vibe, just natural.
He
that
said,
we
what
were
you trying to
just
say,
flowing
Scott?
with
What you trying to
Trying to prove something to me, my lad?
Just so. Just so. Those was my words. You know what I mean? So we had such a great energy and great vibe with man and man there. You know what I mean?
Yes,
We're not
Yes,
strangers to each other. We know each other. We know our works. And we just come together as one and just make something positive. You know what I mean? And uplifting. It was always great and honored to work with Vaughn, Ak Becca. You know what I'm saying? As I say, he's a brethren that we know from way back when. And to do this music was always an upful and grateful opportunity for each one.
Well, here's the thing. Even back in the day, I'm sorry, you weren't finished, Post. I didn't mean to cut you off. It just made me
I done.
think of something. Because even so, we are all brothers, right? You know, back in the day before any of this blew up or anything, you know, any of this took root and spread, you know, we be in sessions with disparate, you know, opposition musicians even that maybe didn't even get along with each other, but Vaughn had the ability to quell all the lions in the room.
Yeah, man.
And make them focus on what we were here for. But yeah, I've been in sessions, tense ones, that Vaughn like is able to, you know, focus everybody on the mission. So
shine that light.
That ability.
Always shine that light. Make that light shine. Always.
Yes, I.
Yeah, man, we're dealing with word, sound, and power, you know.
Yeah, man.
Word, sound, and power.
And he always bring like everything, like he make it so simple, right? Like simplicity at his pure state, right?
True.
Yeah, man. Like we never share no note or chord or never say nothing about any like musical structure or nothing. It was just, you know.
Vibes. Pure vibes.
Yeah. And a lot of time he give I man a decision to be free with what I'm hearing. With the bass line, as you say, the first thing we put on is the bass line. After I hear the bass line, he said, Paul, I look at it, he said, Pulse, it's you. Whatever you feel with it. You check? So
yeah.
I love that about him. Same way, I give I a chance to bring out my creativity to whatever we're trying to establish. You know what I mean?
So you know, that was the parameter set for everybody. Because you know, once you had once you had the parameters, you were free within that to do what you would. He would look for that on every instrument. You got the parameters, you're working within these two things, now put you in the middle of that. So, you know.
True.
Yeah, man.
I give thanks. We give thanks.
But my instructions from the beginning were, Kenyatta, don't make the bass line too pretty. Give it that's every bass line, not just Ak Becca Scrolls, but don't make it too pretty. Give it a space, give it a cliff for it to drop off, make sure it's some space in there and keep it in the pocket. Those were my instructions.
Yeah, man. Simple.
Give it let it fall off a cliff. Like make it a nail biter.
Yeah, like, you know, just give it and just give it some space in there so it's not too busy.
Let it breathe. Let it breathe. Yeah.
In that space is where
there you go.
Whoa, that's the cliffhanger moment. That's the cliffhanger moment. You know? The space.
Yeah.
So I took that concept to every bass line I ever really played with any artist.
Yeah.
That's what I was always looking for.
True.
I really like it when Vaughn was telling you the baseline, and he was telling you the baseline in numbers. He was like,
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
1, 2,
3,
3,
4, 5,
4, 5.
6.
1, 2,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Well,
never see that before. You know, everything was mathematic. Like,
that was an
He said his
improvement
dad
because
taught
for
him how
many
to do that.
years it was just a pop, 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 pop. You know, you just like, you know, he would like he didn't use the numbers, so it wasn't. It was a little, you know. Sometimes it would get a little more difficult.
yeah,
Even.
Let's bring you
yeah.
back down with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, easy.
Yeah.
And as a drummer, that means something totally different to me. But
Yeah.
that's okay because I wasn't playing bass. So I saw how easy like they worked that out, and I'm like, I've never seen that style before, but clearly it works.
Yeah.
And if it works, it works, man. The rules
Y'all give me a moment. I'll be back in a moment.
the rules don't matter,
Okay.
bro. On a session like that, it's not about following rules or like
No.
that Manel, you said, you know, musical terminology or everything being by the book. It's like throw the book out the window.
Nothing. I remember me playing the keyboard, and I was playing the chord, the full chord, and he was like, no, 2 fingers, just 2 fingers, you know?
Right. Break the rules.
Yeah, just 2 fingers.
We're gonna set it down.
Yeah, we don't want the full chord.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Ishence, what do you remember about these sessions?
I remember the cohesiveness of everyone and the upful vibes and just pure goodness and laughter, you know, just laughing. But one memory that sticks out to me a lot is like there was something going on in the studio with like a chord and running a chord, trying to get this sound, and it's kind of chaotic in the studio. And I'm sitting there with my guitar, kind of waiting, and then I feel like a hand on my shoulder like this. I look up and Vaughn's just staring at me, smiling. There's no words said, nothing, just a smile back, like, yes, I is.
True, true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that'll always be in my mind. A smile and
Yeah, man.
yes,
Give thanks. Yes, sir.
Biblical, what do you remember?
Woo. Yeah, I remember everything the Islam said already. You know, it was pure joy, really, because when you're around Vaughn, you see he's a leader and he is doubtless, you know.
Mm.
So you have to keep up with the leadership and that comes like a pure joy because it's somebody leading I to do more than maybe we've done before. And that's what was proceeding because it was calling everyone, no matter what had gone on in the past is gone. We're here present now working on these works. And just like Manel said, the words that he wrote, they're in the songs on Living Testament. He said this is a mission for His Majesty.
Yeah.
You know, we're going on a mission for His Majesty.
Plus, yeah.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's what proceeded in every way. And every time I met Vaughn in person, that's how it was. And that's how it stayed. And so that was just a joy to be a part of with I and my brethren and to fulfill the works together. Honor. Because
Yeah, man.
them words that like Paul said, his words sound important. Vaughn had words that are still fulfilling in meaning to each of us.
True.
You know, we heard the songs already, but they're still fulfilling more meaning as you listen to them still, you know? So that's a joy because it's a growth, you know? So
yeah, man, continuity.
yeah, and a continuity really because it's a seed, and he said it's like he's a superconductor, a super producer, you know, and he charged all of us with the same energy to work together.
True.
And go on doing works.
Yes, sir.
Well said.
Yeah, man.
Kenyatta, you did a lot of works with Vaughn over the years.
Mhm.
And this is our first time ever reasoning. I feel like you must have gotten so much just vibes over the years, being a part of this. Uh, Anything you want to say about that experience or about, these sessions specifically?
For me, when we got together, it wasn't really about the music for me. It was about Rastafari. And see, I'm from Washington, D.C. And, you know, I've been introduced to that culture, but I was looking for more knowledge. And so, the music kind of came secondary. It was more about I was learning from Vaughn. I was learning a lot actually, having moved to St. Croix, being where I was from. So it was more about community. It was more like, at that time it wasn't nothing really had happened yet, and we were happy to get one meal a day. Like it was like that, Um,
Man.
if I could say that I took anything or, what kind of vibes, I had never seen anyone with that kind of work ethic. Um, Vaughn was, first one to the studio, last one to leave. Oh, let's get this little piece in. I can remember like we were recording Nemo Zion Rasta and we were getting complaints from the neighbors. And then it was a space that was owned by Tippy's father. And Tippy's father showed up and he was like, you guys got 30 minutes to get up out of here. And we were recording, I think it was All Over for Desiree. And he said 30 minutes, and Vaughn looked up and he said, okay, we got 30 minutes. Let's hurry up and get this part. Like that's, like let's hurry up. And his father's there standing over us, watching what we doing. And, it was like, like who said that? Somebody said he was a super producer. Yeah, he was really disciplined. I learned a lot of that from him, just staying focused on, just being active and being productive. And we just constantly did music for years and years and years. Just whenever he was not away and I was living in St. Croix and we had Red Eye Band at that point. So we were playing for a bunch of different Virgin Islands artists and we were touring as well. Whenever we were able to connect, it could be a hotel room on the road. Like so much music got done in you know, in a hotel room. A few albums got done in abandoned houses, like wherever we could set up, that's what we do. So that work ethic, that drive to produce, that staying focused, that's probably what sticks with me the most.
Yeah, man. Yes,
Before you go on, I just want to shout out Chemo. Ras Chemo, respect to Ras Chemo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kimo was the man around. That was a good vibe with him,
Yeah, my brethren from LA come up from
Yeah.
LA, Yeah,
I
man, I
remember.
tell him to come up here. We needed a percussionist like that, man,
Yeah, he came with a lot of his instruments. He had plenty different instruments, I remember.
Yeah, a good brethren, man. Now
Yeah,
rest
man.
in
Yes,
For those who don't know, so Ras Kimo played percussion on the album, yeah? And then he
yes,
transitioned between then and now.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
True.
yeah.
Kimo. Yes,
Thanks for that, Kenyatta. Scott, what are you saying about these sessions in particular? What was anything you remember or is still with you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, like it's all still with me. I've done a lot of studio work in my time. I've done a lot of reggae music. I've done a lot of other kind of studio work as well, session work, you name it. And a lot of times, especially with session work, it just feels like work. It's still a joy because I'm making music, right? And I never, ever, 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 I think we can all agree on this, that you don't take for granted a chance to get compensated to go play a session or make music. Like, it's always a joy, you know? And then there's also those moments where compensation is not even in your mind at all. It's just a pure vibe, and you just know that you're in the right place and that you're doing what job put you here to do, you know? I started playing my instrument at a really young age, and I've played it literally my entire life. And so it's been very clear in my life and my journey that this is the thing that I'm here to do. And so in terms of this session, you know, with in this period of time, I was there for the majority of the first day.
And the morning. Yeah, I remember the next morning.
And then the following day, yeah. And then a part of
Yeah.
I was there for maybe like half the day on the second day as well.
And yeah, but that day we didn't build nothing because the laptop. Yeah, that's what happened.
The computer.
Yeah. We were ready to build more rhythms.
We were ready to build more, but it ended up being perfect because we just hung around and reasoned, and, you know,
yeah,
just we went in the house, held vibes with Vaughn for a while.
That's true. And I remember how he was really, like hyped with the fact that he recorded 23 songs. You remember that?
Yes, he said it was like, it's the perfect number.
Yeah,
we're done.
He was there.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah, because we were ready to record more, and the laptop saying no, and he was like, "Look, I recorded here 23 songs. 23. You know how special is that number? 23 songs." And he keeps saying it again and again. It was like 23. And he went to the house and said to whatever man was in the house, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was the reason.
I guess if I like try to isolate a moment that really sticks out for me, it would be a moment. We already touched on this moment briefly, but and you can hear it. It's on the album, which I think is great. I love the fact that there's outtakes on the album from what was happening in the room. So I played drum set on 3 of these tunes, you know, not the majority of them. The first 2 takes I did, Vaughn basically had a beat in mind and he sung it to me, and then I played it kind of as close to note for note as possible. And then Pulse and I were musical chairs with the drums. We were trading back and forth. And so when it was my next time to come and make a next rhythm and take a next take, Vaughn, instead of singing me a beat or something, he said, trying to remember verbatim, but it was something along the lines, you know, you write this beat and just play something that you know that I would chant over, that it would be just something wicked for me.
Freestyle.
Yeah. Just do something that you know will make for a wicked rhythm for me to work and write with. He said, you've been a fan for a long time. You know my music. You pick. And in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, that's heavy. Like I didn't take that lightly at all. So I'm very fast in my brain. I'm going through patterns and I'm thinking of things because I want to play something interesting and unique, you know, not just default to just a basic 1 drop or a basic this or that. So I came up with a beat and I was really just like, I hope he likes it. I hope everybody vibes with it, you know? And I started and we started to flesh out the rhythm. It was clear that it was like working. It was going to be a good one. So he said, record it. So we hit the red button and we did a take. And man, I got so in the zone during that take that by the time we stopped, you know, my eyes were fully closed, like closed tight, right? Like when you open them, everything's kind of even blurry. I was really just in it, and I was hitting hard, and I could tell, like, I knew I was like beating the drums, you know, just trying to keep this thing chugging along, you know. And when I opened my eyes, everybody that was there, that was outside, had came inside. So suddenly there was like 15 people in the room, you know, or however many, 12, 15 people. I didn't know anyone came in. I was so in the zone. And as soon as the take was done, the whole place erupted. And Vaughn got up out of his chair and was like, "Oh, whoa, Rastafari," you know. And then Pulse came in and said, famously,
what you trying to say, Scott?
He said, "Well, you're trying to prove something to me, my lad? You have something to prove?" And then I stood up, and me and Pulse had an embrace, and it was just, man, it was a very special moment, because during the course of just whatever 6 or 7 minute take, right, everybody that was outside came inside, and like just that take, not the drums alone, right? I'm not saying that, but just that take, there was something very magical about that take, because everybody was in there.
Yeah.
And everybody, the whole place went off, and I was like, oh, like, you know, it was just such a joy to like get the green light from Vaughn to, in, so to speak, like, play whatever you want, you write, and to like have it work out really well on the first try, and then get a good take on the first take. That's, in the studio, that's your dream anyway, right?
Yeah.
And if you can do that for one of your musical heroes, that's even better, right? So much better. So it was just magical, you know?
As I say, it was a great honor, my brother.
Same way, of course, bro. Of course, that night was so fun, man. And it's like, you know, when there's mutual respect, sometimes it's nice to have a next drummer. That way, you do a take and then go cool out for a while. You know, come back, like,
yeah, man.
And at the time we were doing them too, like, I don't think anybody necessarily knew like what would. Well, obviously we didn't know any outcomes for any of it. We just knew we were there. This is the moment we're being told to create. We need to create this music. You know, it was a super conducted, super powered session. So yeah, there was the vibes were so upful with that take in particular. I mean, everything about that night, and even the next day, even though the computer failed the next day, everything was upful the whole time. But that particular moment for me, like, was like a high watermark moment for sure, you know. Yeah,
frequency was very high.
Yeah, man, it got high. It went high.
Yeah.
It started high, and then it went.
That's why the computer crank out. The
Yeah, man. Yeah, the computer was like, no more, man.
It's enough.
Yeah.
Nah, because I think you did more, like several more late night.
True.
I tapped out. I nodded off, and I said, "I'm falling asleep. I have to tap out." So,
Brethren, that was more like energy that day. I had my SEMA smoothie with me. I was full with energy.
Yeah, man, it was an honor, big honor for sure. And yeah, to have like that, the sound bites of that moment captured and in the dubs is really special too, you know. So shouts out definitely to Manel and to including anybody involved who was involved with like that decision making of taking some of those vocal things off of cell phones and this and that, and including those. Like, hats off. I think all of that stuff's incredible.
Yeah,
that's what makes this album like sparkle. That's like the sprinkles on top, you know.
Yes,
there's these little treasures that are hidden inside these dubs, and like, it's so special for that reason too.
Yes, I give thanks. I keep that moment alive. Really keep that moment alive, you know.
Yeah, man.
Yes, I.
Yeah, well, for Iman, it was an honor every time working with Kenyatta and bass. You check. Cause me and Kenyatta do a lot of works over the years, same way with the Abja and different ones. And working with Manel is always a great pleasure for him, and same way. Cause me and Manel don't go in the studio 2 away alone and make 12 rhythm in less than an hour. You know? So I just give thanks for all the man them, same way. Scott is a good brethren of mine. I learn a lot watching Scott, you know. He's a man that, as I say, we always 2 drummers and we are very creative with different flows that we carry, you know what I mean? So it's always a big respect, you know. So yeah, man, I give enough thanks for working with all the item, you know what I mean?
Yes,
in the studio, manifesting this project here, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
man.
Same way, right beside our Anna and brethren, Ak Becca.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I.
Yeah. Well, Manel, do you want to say anything about the session, these sessions?
Yeah, again, I was just enjoying the simplicity of everything, you know? Like everything was just running smooth, you know? We were just riding easy, you know? So that was a joy. And yeah, it's good when a man is leading and everyone is just following, you know? I like that, you know, everyone is just like really focusing on the vibe that somebody's trying to create, you know. It's not like, oh, let's change this or let's change that, or it's not like second things, you know. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, you know. Yeah,
Yes,
man. Yeah. I remember Shasta. You remember, everyone remember Shasta messing with everyone?
The dog you talking about?
Yeah, dog.
Man.
Yeah, but she didn't mess with Vaughn. I remember seeing Vaughn walking, and she was there just chilling.
Really?
Shasta makes an appearance in one of those video clips too. There's like a very few
Sharking around the yard. Ready
Yeah,
to
circling like a shark.
Yeah, the tail ready to freaking lock on.
Dog will eat you, really. Really.
Shasta was like the test. You have to pass the test before you go to studio.
Yeah. Run the gauntlet, man.
Yeah, well, give enough shout out and thanks to Trinity Farm for you know, letting all of us come together right here on the farm and do the recording and getting this project together. And same where my brethren right here, Ishence, you know, powerful guitarist, same way, and producer. For all of us coming together as one. Manel, you don't know. You shine that light bright all the way from the UK. Keep that sound bubbling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes, yeah, man. So, yeah, as we say, solidarity we stand, you know?
Big up Jarubal.
Big up Jarubal, yeah. Jarubal for making this year happen same way.
Yes,
can't leave them out.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Facilitate.
Yes, I. Big up Jarubal every time.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
There was a word Scott said earlier that kind of goes into this next question. He said that when Vaughn was next to him in the club, it was a potent vibe or a potent energy, I think is the way you referred to it. And you know, at iRoots we deal with a lot of music and the world, a lot of roots music, and the world clearly responds to Vaughn in kind of a special way. And so, you know, we can all listen to his albums and that's like a graduate studies, you know, in terms of philosophy and music and there's a lot to learn, but all of the eyes, you know, spent time with Vaughn. And I think one of the things that people would like to know is there anything he said to you or things you observed over the years that you want the world to know? I mean, again, we have the albums, but you guys have personal experience. And I'm guessing there's some special memories there. I guess we'll go around the room. Kenyatta, we'll start with you.
Come back to me.
All right. Ishence.
You know, through the years, there's been a lot of lessons and things that I've learned from Vaughn. But during this album, there was something that he kept repeating that I think the world needs to keep in their meditation, and is that let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Just sight. That means not only what you say can be heard by all, but the meditation of your heart, only you and Most High Jah can see. So to keep those two things clean and loving and kind as we move forward in life. And we work with our Idrin and doing these works. And that really stuck with me. And I think the world needs to also keep that in their meditation, in their day-to-day life. You know?
Lovely.
Goodness.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. Pulse,
I'm
I'm guessing.
ready for that
Oh,
question.
you ready now? Okay.
Yeah.
Regin, we'll come back to
So
you.
I can remember it was Nemo Zion Ross that had just finished, and there's this song on there, Clean Clear Sky Water Falling, Plants Rising, Good Farming. This is how you present to the daybreak morning, Earth Natural Season. And I can't remember the name of the tune, I just remember the lyrics. But I can remember Vaughn didn't want to put that on there. He didn't want to put that tune on there. And we were at Dorch Beach talking about it. And me and Tippy was begging, no, we got to put that on there. And he was like right after that, he said, Kenyatta, you going to bear witness. Just like out of the blue. He said, you're going to bear witness. And the times that come, you're going to bear witness. That stuck with me.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little bit? What does that mean to you?
That means that, you know, I'm going to bear witness to the times. I'm going to bear witness, you know, to what that movement was like. Well, you know, it's a very few people that share this. It's only about, you know, and when I say that to all the VI, I'm talking about all the VI artists that were coming out at that time. Like we all share this connection, this experience that you know, a lot of us are going to bear witness to. I'm just one. But I don't know exactly what he meant. You know, that's the thing. Like he could mean so many different things at the same time, and all of them be true. You know, all of them be relevant. But you know, that's how I see it. Like that, you know, I saw all the Virgin Islands artists as like a whole, like a movement that was going out to the world, and you know. Again, I love all the brothers and sisters actually that have been a part of that. I feel like we shared like, you know, we get to influence our culture going down through the ages, through the next generations. Like this, you know, it's you know, we're being testament to the times that we lived in. We're being testament to where things were and how the progression is going and how everything is going in a circle, in a circle, and it keeps spinning faster and faster and faster.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Kenyatta, you're gonna bear witness.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Pulse, for some, I feel like you probably have a lot of stories. But is there anything that Vaughn shared with you that you want the world to know?
Yeah, one of the main thing is to don't waste time. Time is precious. You know, as much time as you can put in to do your works, put it in. Don't waste no time. Saying time. Time is very, very, very precious. You know what I mean? So now I find myself more motivated in every day things I do. Work, dealing with the family, you know. And I try to put out a lot more time in my music, working with different artists, playing with different bands. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, time. Take time serious in these times.
True.
Yes, I.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Biblical. How about your experience? We talked a little bit about this last time. You had some powerful things to say. Anything else?
Every time I had an interaction with Vaughn, it was edification to me. Like sharpening or pointing out or just reminding, because it was an example of some kind. So I mean, there was literally time after time. I remember it was always something that was never, to me, it was never normal. It's like, you see someone, they say, hey, how are you doing? He would never greet out like that. He'd just say a word that was profound. And if I didn't know what it meant, he didn't care neither. He just dropped it and said, if you pick it up, you pick it up. If you don't,
Right.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those words, Biblical?
Yeah, let me think. Well, he said, give me a moment. I gotta think about it because I got a lot of things in my mind.
I remember Biblical. I and I were reasoning not long ago, last time I saw you, about it wasn't anything he said to you, I don't think, but the lyric, go ask Pliny, go ask Plutarch. And I remember how we were just saying how sometimes like we would have to stop the music and go get a dictionary or go Google, because we always know who all these men are, and he just knew so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You were always studying, whether it was listening to music or even just interaction with him too.
Yeah. So seeking and finding is a huge element with in life and with the music, and from you seek you shall find. And I remember one time I went to a show in Sacramento, and after the show, the show went on for maybe 4 hours or something. And after the show, I went back to go check him, and the security wouldn't let me come through the curtain. And he got so vexed at the security. He said, I just came off the stage. This is my family. Let them in. And he got real vexed in this man's face. And then we went and sat down. And he turned to me, and I thought he was vexed, but he turned and it's like he turned the whole thing around. He said, you got to cultivate your skills.
Mm.
And that's it, and really, I'm a farmer, and life is, we're trees planted by the rivers of water. We're growing. So we got to cultivate our skill and plant seeds of love and water them and nurture them, So it was just a word sound and a power that I won't ever forget, because it was needed. It's necessary. The world needs to cultivate their skills. We all need to cultivate our skills. And truly, he was an example of that, because in the very moment he was doing it, So that's the joy. That's another moment.
Give thanks. So Manel, the question was for you. Is there anything that Vaughn shared with you that you want the world to know?
I remember talking with him, and I remember talking with him about the importance of the works and make the works manifest, Like he told me, like, don't look for no one, do your thing more than once, and make things happen, He told me about how much music he have and release it, and how he didn't understand why he's not released it yet, and things like that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
He want it all out now.
Yeah, he was like, what is that music doing in the laptops and in the hard drive? Release the music. Right, Biblical, you remember him?
Yeah.
Release the music. He was telling us about, So yeah, that was the main thing, like the importance of he told me, Manel, I don't want to see this album for 2 years going around, 3 years going around. Release the music, you know?
That
That was
happened a
really
lot.
his main thing. Like, make it happen. Like, it's beautiful now, but still work to
Oh,
do, you know?
dealing with time again. Time, as I tell you before, time right
Exactly.
now. The time is now. That's what he always say. Elevate, don't
Exactly.
waste time. People just
Don't waste
always
time
want to put it
again.
off. Put it off. Let's do it now.
Yeah,
Yes. Time. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Serious wisdom and knowledge every time. In other words, sound and power. That's why he
Yes,
come with every time.
yeah, man.
Mhm.
It's true. I
Yeah, so
mean,
that was the main, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's interesting that, you know, he was so time focused, and then his time was short, you know, and none of us, you know, it's beautiful because it's a beautiful teaching because none of us know, you know.
Yeah.
No.
Again, it's the focus and the simplicity, because even when I was recording Living Testament with him, when he said, Manel, I'm ready, that was like most of the songs almost, there was like a 1-2 take thing. There was not like punch me there or punch me back or take me there or take me that, you know? He will be like straight for 1 minute and a half, 2 minutes. He will stop the thing, stop, you know? And then he will get it from there, boom, again, you know? And then one or two backups, that's it, you know? Next thing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that simplicity of I'm 100% sure of what I'm doing. This is why I can accomplish everything, because I'm 100% sure with confidence of what I'm doing, you know?
Yes.
Right.
Scott, how about for you? Anything that Vaughn shared with you that you want the world to know?
Yeah, for sure. You know, been thinking over this, and you know, out of everybody that's here, I spent the least amount of one-on-one time, FaceTime with Vaughn. I met him at many shows. I was able to, of course, you know, reason with him in that way. But as I said, even though I was on a couple of other releases, I never actually worked with him physically in the studio until this session, this one session. So, and during that night and even during the next day, obviously there was a lot of things that, you know, there were a lot of words that were said and there was a lot of reasoning, but it was really more about just working and making as much music as possible. Like, really, again, going back to time, like making sure we just utilized every minute. The thing that I think I would share is, you know, as someone who didn't know him on a deep level, and I didn't have a deep history with him on a personal level. Obviously, a longtime student of his music and his teachings and everything like that. But really, it's a takeaway not from the main session or the session itself, which was the first day, all day and all night, but it was the next day. So I came back pretty early the next morning because the idea was to keep working and basically just keep doing what we were doing the night before. And when the computer started to glitch and it wasn't working, I remember I thought, like, oh man, like he's gonna get vexed. That was my initial thought, was like, oh, it's gonna, you know, it's gonna upset the vibe. Oh, we can't record anything today. Like, oh, it's not gonna get fixed. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, like it's kind of like tragic, or he may even be angry, or, you know, I don't know, whatever. And ultimately what happened was that it was like the ultimate lesson in mindfulness, you know, that I got from him, because I remember we were in the studio, and at a certain point, Manel was doing everything he could, and it was like the computer was gone. It was like time of death, you know, whatever, 11 a.m., whatever. We gave up. We went into the house to cool out, and Vaughn just kind of casually, I was by him on the couch, and he was like very casual, and he was like, yeah, that just means the session's over. You know, it's all good. Like there will always be more sessions. Actually, that part really kind of like gives me chills when I remember that part, because he did look at me and say there will always be more sessions, you know. And there will always be music. There will always be brethren that gather and make music. But, you know, we couldn't have known that there would be no more sessions with him. So it was kind of a paradoxical thing. That was something that really stuck out to me, because it showed me that this person that was so powerful and so moving and so prolific was also totally grounded in the present moment. And he wasn't going to like, his day wasn't going to be upset because this computer died. It was just, okay, well, that's just the moment. That's just what happened. Now what do we do next? What's next?
Yes, sir.
And that wasn't even a new concept to me. It was just really nice, kind of beautiful to see that from somebody that I have so much respect for, from over decades, you know, worth of music. And so that's something I think I would share with people in general, that he shared and exemplified in that moment, was like, roll with the punches, you know. Things go sideways. Like, I know in my world, at least one thing goes sideways every day, you know. Some plan that I made every day goes a different way than what I planned. And like, that's life. That's the experience we live as human beings on this earth. And to just roll with the punches and like take it pretty light, you know, and float downstream, and just, you know, keep on living. Don't get hung up on it.
Yeah, man.
That was a big takeaway from that moment. The fact that happened, there was a technical difficulty that just led to another teaching, rather than we could have all gotten upset and whatever. Like, that could have gone that way too. We're musicians. We wanted to make music, but it was just a different plan for that day. So yeah, I think that's important. I think we can always work on that. You know, everybody can always do better at that.
Brother again, Scott talking.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. The next section was for shout outs. The guys already shouted out Rubo and Chemo. Was there anybody else you want to shout out from these sessions or in general?
Well, everyone that came around that day, you know, it was quite like few people, but I remember seeing other artists too, like Army, right? Tough Lion, other people that came around the yard just to hear the brethren and pull a by for a minute, you know? Yeah.
Fun.
And also mentioned that after the session, Vaughn tell us to share the rhythms with different artists, you know? People like Abja, Ancient King, you know, Rubal himself, Biblical, Army, and yeah, share the music with them. So that's a reality already that is coming soon, you know, full albums with Abja and Ancient King first, you know. So yeah, big up these brethren too, and to keep that vibe, you know.
So all those same rhythms from the AKAE BEKA Scrolls, we're gonna see albums from on those same rhythms coming.
Same rhythms, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Vaughn. The last part, and I hope that Biblical can get connected again, is for anything we missed, final thoughts, and also kind of an open forum. Yeah, so Manel, we'll start with you. Is there anything we missed? Any final thoughts?
No, I think everything we touch, every detail, right, Kenyatta?
I don't, I can't think of
Yeah,
anything that you may have missed. Yeah,
that was the whole vibe. I mean,
I think so.
yeah,
I'm in
we just
agreement
had a
with that.
great time with a great person that we have the honor to meet and be there, you know?
Yeah,
And I give thanks
yeah,
to see the works manifest, because that's the main thing. It's not about the session and the vibe. It's about sealing works and showing to the world. That's the music is not just for us, but to share it, So I give thanks for both release,
Yeah, same way. Kenyatta, do you have any final thoughts or final things you want to say about this album, about your experiences with Vaughn over the years?
but I got to be a part of things. It's what I'm put most of my energy into, my adult life. This is what I focused on. So I'm just glad to have been a part of it, been able to contribute to it.
Beautiful. Scott, how about the
Yeah, man. I think that I and I all have represented well and painted a good picture of what this session was like, and I think that yeah, I mean, the way I feel about the session and the album and the even the other albums that will come out, these rhythms in general, is that like, it was clearly an appointed thing, and it took Vaughn, who was such a great conduit of energy, to just say, "Hey, pick up the phone and call all the good players that are around, all the good players that I know that he knows, knew that lived here in town," and he said, "Make it happen," and it happened, and it was like, yeah, just clearly a very appointed and meant to be situation. Super proud to have played my part in it, and yeah, I would say, just in terms of a shout out, definitely all the brethren that are here on the call, man, get a special salute from me. Yatta, you done know you played bass on some of my favorite albums ever in the world that have ever been recorded.
Yeah.
It's always been a joy to be able to make music with someone that I had already been listening to for years. Ishence, same way, has produced albums that I've been a huge fan of. Manel is, a brother from across the pond that we worked well together instantly, and is had a good vibe. Biblical for the phone call, for the hospitality, for calling, for reaching out, and making me aware of the session. Ras Pulse for welcoming me in as someone who had worked with Vaughn a lot of times and had a long history with Vaughn. Just bigging up Pulse always for being a brother in the music, yeah, shout outs to everyone involved, and sure, shout outs Biblical for the phone call,
Yes,
yeah, man.
They're back.
Yes, sir.
The eyes are
The three
coming back at
Mosqueteros, the three amigos.
It's the perfect time.
Trinity.
Biblical and Pulse and Ishence, we just went around we're kind of at the end, and we just went around with any final thoughts, anything we missed, any final shout outs. So we'll start with Ishence.
Yeah, big up Vaughn's family, big up Vaughn. Just keep the principle that Vaughn taught us and take the momentum that we've gathered through all the years and keep it moving forward. Just
Yes,
deals with time as precious as it is, you know?
Yes, I.
Yeah.
Yes, I. Ras Pulse, any final thoughts, any final impressions, any shout outs?
Well, my shout outs is enough blessings and prosperity to the family, his kids, and everyone, Ryan family. And I know this music for Ak Becca will keep growing as years come. It will be the biggest music out there because I don't hear from some of the greatest, some of the great singers from Jamaica that always rate him and say, man, I'm on the bigger than Bob Marley. How him write him lyrics, how him sing it. So I think in more generation and time to come, the whole world gonna see how big this music is coming from Ak Becca. Because right now, this generation don't really fully get it, you know what I mean? To the fullest. But as the years goes by, it will grow.
Yeah, man.
Beautiful, beautiful.
For all times.
Yes, I. Biblical, final thoughts, shout outs, anything we missed.
Yeah, shout out, you know, love to all his family, all the youth. Shout out to all the brethren and sisters around the world, you know, that rally around and rally to this cause. And I give thanks for all the brethren here coming together in oneness and manifesting these works and this time, because like we all see and know, time is precious. And to us, it is profound, this Ak Becca Scrolls, the way the last song ends and the way Manel mixed it and put it is very profound because, you know, in the beginning, it begins and he says, don't waste no time. And in the end, he says, after all, just do good.
True.
And that's how the CD ends.
True.
And really, that's no end because that's the circle and that's the mission, to do good. And that's it, you know. So eat and drink and be merry, but do good. That's I and I calling. And we're here to do that. And I give thanks for I and I presence amongst the item and, you know, for these works to come to fruition.
Yes,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Rastafari. And most of all, give thanks to His Majesty because, you know, the works is like we're sons and daughters of Him, and the message and the word, sound, and power is bigger than all of we. And so all the time I listen to Vaughn, I get in this instruction of a higher reasoning, you know, and a higher fulfillment, a higher seeking,
Majesty.
you know.
yes,
And that's the mission, same way. So it's a calling, it's an awakening and a reminder, you know. And I give thanks for that because that's what we need in this time when there's all kind of people dealing with all kind of folly and things,
true.
you know. And the truth is what sets I and I free. And in His works and in His words is the truth, you know.
Give thanks
So that's
Yeah.
that's the fire.
Rastafari.
True.
every time. So I want to thank you guys for your time this evening, to do this reasoning. Also for your contributions to music at large and your contributions to the scrolls and to Living Testament and to Living Testament Dub, which is at press currently and to come. Yeah, just give thanks, brethren. Give thanks to all of the eyes. Many.
I,
Give thanks
Yeah,
for
man.
having
Yes,
us.
sir.
Lord,
thanks.
Haile Selassie, the first,
Bless up.
the
Yes,
Maui.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Good to
Lord.
see the eyes.